Hi, everybody. So, this is such an unusual time, right? It's not business as usual. And so, I want to make a little contribution to the conversation that will maybe comfort some people as we're going through this coronavirus journey together. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Leah Saul, author of You Don't Have to Learn Everything the Hard Way and Sisterhood of the Copper Mirrors. So, what I wanted to begin with is by talking about just the name of this coronavirus. So, corona means crown. So, just inherent in this idea of a crown maybe is giving us a clue about where this virus is coming from. Maybe, the creator of the world really, there are many people who just believe that everything comes from God. So, we have ourselves to put into the mix of it. But the idea of a crown is that when you think about a crown, the idea is you want to elevate, you want to lift up and come from a higher place. So, one of the things I was thinking about and talking about earlier with somebody is this idea that life has a pulse. We have, when you think about your heart, right? So there's a contraction and an expansion, expansion, and you need both. We live in a world of duality, so you need the expansion and you need the contraction. So it seems like this coronavirus time is really a time of contraction where we all have to sort of pull back into our own space with it. And in a way, you have to pull back. You have to contract in order to expand. You can't just keep expanding, expanding, expanding. You need to have that pulse. So if you think about a bow and an arrow, when you want to shoot the arrow and you want it to go far, you pull back on it in order to create that tension. And then when you let go, the arrow can really fly farther. So I think that that's part of the rhythm of what we're dealing with this virus. And I'm sorry the camera's moving around, but I'm holding it by hand because it's a weird time of day. And if I don't hold it up, then I get weird shadows, and we don't like those. Okay, so one of the ways that I was looking at this, and I've been very moved and taken with the generosity that I'm seeing of humanity right now. There are so many people who are offering what they have to offer just as a love offering to the world. I've seen it with people who do EFT, do tapping. I've seen it with yoga teachers. I've seen it with people who do counseling. There's a beautiful generosity that's happening. In fact, I just heard a really neat story that I haven't verified it, but it's a nice story, and it's possible to be true. That there was a hospital in Italy that was missing a certain part for their respirators. So somebody came with a 3D printer and created those parts for them right there. It's really an amazing thing that we're moving forward with every resource that we have in order to help other people. So it's an interesting thing that we're isolating on one hand. On the other hand, we're really using this as an opportunity to connect. So within this process, you can be holding in one of two places, more, but in general. One is that you're in the place of generosity, that you're in a place of expansion. The other is that maybe you're personally in a place of contraction, meaning it's feeling like a really hard time for you. I had one of those yesterday. I had a really hard day yesterday. And I teach this stuff, like how to get out of it. But one of the things is that the way to get out of something is to go through it. You don't want to deny that it's happening. You want to understand that it's happening, but then to allow yourself to feel the feelings, understand what's happening, take the contraction, and receive the lesson and the growth that's there for you in that. So one of the ideas, I'm looking at my notes, that's why I keep looking down. I want to make sure I give you everything I have planned. So, there's this concept of the way that a pearl is made. This little piece of grit goes inside of this soft little sea creature, this little shellfish. You think about it's really a tiny little thing, and when you think about a grain of sand, it's probably like a big piece of broken glass to that little shellfish. And what it does is it coats it and it coats it and it coats it until finally there's this beautiful pearl that comes out. So for us, we get to use this as a metaphor to understand that when things are hard, it means that we have an opportunity to really create something beautiful out of it, that we can create that pearl within ourselves and for ourselves. And maybe that pearl that we're creating is even an offering to the rest of the world. And so that's something to think about. One of the things I want to talk about also, I want to differentiate. A lot of times we talk about give and take. So that's this concept that sounds good. I'll give and I'll take. But I think a way that we can even raise that higher is to say to give and receive, because taking is this idea of grabbing something. I'm going to take something. Receiving is the idea of opening your hand and allowing the other to put something into your hand, this idea of receiving. So all of the beautiful offerings, all of the things that people are putting out there on Facebook is an opportunity when you're in the time of contraction for you to receive the love that's coming through, to receive the generosity. It's really an amazing thing. When you can receive, you're not only doing something nice for yourself, you're actually giving to the person who gave to you, because to just give and have nobody benefit from it isn't really such a great thing. When people are benefiting from the giving, wow, it elevates the person who's giving as well as the person who's receiving. Okay, so just again to say that the way to get through a hard time is to get through it. The idea isn't to short circuit it, but the idea also is not to wallow in this. So when you're having a hard time, you don't need to say, okay, I'm having this hard time, so I'm going to sit in it and really feel it. Follow the process. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to sleep, sleep. If you need to do art, whatever it is for you, to get through the challenging part of it. But you also don't have to take it to an extreme and say, oh yeah, it's so terrible, it's so painful. The idea is do what it requires. And the interesting thing is you're the only one that can say that. You're the only one that can say, this is what I need and this is what I don't need. So you find for yourself the boundaries. When do you need to snap out of it and when do you need to just go with it? I wish there was a magic formula that I could give you. But the idea is, if you really just trust the process and trust yourself, you will come through to the other side. And that's the beautiful thing, is that there is another side to it. So you go through the hard part, you go through the contraction, and then you can go through the expansion also. So the peace, the balance, the joy is waiting for you right now. You can step into it. When the time is right, it's going to be there for you. So if you're going through a hard time right now with all of this, because a lot of people are, just trust that in the right time, you will get through it and you will come out better. You will come out having grown from it. So give yourself permission to be in the process wherever you are right now. It's kind of like, the butterfly and the caterpillar. So everybody's like, oh yeah, be a butterfly. But you know what? It's really okay to be a caterpillar. That's part of the process. And part of the process is going into the cocoon also. That's a whole different metaphor, but it's also a beautiful one. When the caterpillar goes into the cocoon, what happens is it completely dissolves into what they call caterpillar soup. It's a real thing. And the caterpillar it becomes mush. It just becomes mush. And then there's these beautiful imaginal cells, that's I think the real name for them too, that spark, and then the butterfly is formed. So it's the same thing in our lives. It's such a beautiful metaphor. You could be in the caterpillar stage, you could be in the cocoon stage, and you could be in the butterfly stage. And they're all good and they're all just right. And all of even the hard parts are really all for the good. So many blessings and lots of love. And, if you have something you want to add, please feel free to put it in the comments. And I see that people read comments whether they like or acknowledge or not. So whatever you say, somebody's going to read it and can benefit from it too. God bless.